Hey everyone, it's Carmelia Ray here. I am in studio and I'm so pleased to introduce my guest, Winston Robinson. He is a coach, father, partner, leader, student, teacher, and embodies what it means to be an elevated male. So Winston, welcome.
Thanks, Carm. So happy to be with you.
Yes, I really wanted to have this conversation with you for a while. Personal note, we are acquainted, personally have known each other for how many years?
Decade and change. You know?
A decade and a bit. And, I've always appreciated Winston's view on relationships, parenting. You actually have a lot of great insight into a lot of different topics, but we recently talked about the concept of elevated male. And I also wanted to talk about partner dynamics, right? And safety in a relationship. And I think you used the phrase co-regulation, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so let's start with the first thing. What is it, when did you come up with the concept of elevated male? And what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's something that came to me, I remember I just transitioned and I was at a point in my life where I was
transitioned from what?
Yeah, that means a lot these days.
Yeah.
So let's
that
be clear.
Means a lot.
All right, so I was in a period of transition in my career, and I had some setbacks in my life where I had started my career in financial planning, built a practice, got to a certain level, plateaued, struggled, and eventually, kind of flamed out. At the time, and
let's go to timeline here. When was this?
So this would be going back over a decade ago.
Okay.
So
okay.
I've been in my background in wealth management,
Okay.
For over 20 years.
And you had worked for companies for corporations or companies as in wealth management.
Correct. Right.
Okay.
So various levels. Within the space, levels of leadership. I've been in leadership for the past decade plus, led teams, created teams, and going back in my early days, when I was building a practice as an advisor, on the other side where I had struggled and eventually went from success to challenge, and I really kind of I took a step back, I took it as a loss and felt that I failed. So I kind of recoiled a bit.
Meaning there was a bit of a setback in the career and finances.
Yeah.
And in that moment, kind of like the 2008 crash in real estate, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you were somebody in real estate, you were not feeling good about yourself at all.
Absolutely. Right. And saying goes is within the investment world as well, right? Like the financial crisis. It started with finances. It affected, it started with real estate, and then it affected finances later. But I didn't attain the level of success that I wanted, and I really took that personally because I identified with success. I identified with where my career was, and to not be where I was purporting to be, like not, where I wanted to be, what I was looking to do with my life and the level of success I was looking to achieve, I really started playing small. I ended up selling my practice and taking some time off, going to work for another advisor that was much more successful in transitioning his practice. And I remember coming across, it was a book called Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Do you recall the author?
By T. Harv Eker.
T. Harv Eker, okay.
Yeah. And it was about
I haven't heard that book.
Yeah, it was a life-changing book for me, because while a lot of personal finance books talked about your financial future, and even as an advisor, that's what I spoke to and coached to. What this book was so unique for was that it talked about that we all have a blueprint, a money blueprint, and the files that we have within that blueprint started from a young age. So we either went one way or we went the opposite based on what we lived, what we learned, what we saw growing up. And so this book was about investigating your files and creating new ones.
Okay.
And it was after reading that book, I attended a seminar and realized that I was playing small. I was playing not to lose instead of playing
Are we
to
talking
win.
about the seminar that you and I both
The
attended?
Secrets of the Millionaire Mind.
Oh, so
seminar.
you went to that seminar.
That's right.
Okay.
Yes.
So you read the book, you figured out there was a seminar, and you followed through and you did that.
And I attended that. And just being in a space of people looking to grow and looking that, we are not our results, our failures or our successes, right? They're just information. It's just feedback. I got to disidentify from the level of success that I didn't achieve by my own standard and realize that I had the power and the opportunity to recreate myself authentically and use that as a feeder, as a feedback to get to where I want to go. And so from that small place, I went from, living at home with my parents, working part-time under the table with a more successful financial advisor, to in the span of going to that seminar, I had applied for a new job that was going to be commission oriented.
This sounds like more than a decade ago. Like, were you single or married at that time?
Oh man, this was going back 2 decades.
This is going back 2 decades now.
Right,
okay.
like it's
when you discovered the book and attended that seminar.
Yeah, so this would have been like 2005.
Okay.
Right, 2005. Right, so almost 2 decades ago, and I got to really reflect on who I was and that I was not my results. I was the person that got to create the results, the person that got to learn from those results, and then take that as information and say, well, what can I do differently? And so I went from my parents' home to applying for this job. Within a week, they hired me. Within the second interview, I moved across from Brampton all the way across to nearly to Pickering to work there. In a little,
from one 905 to the other 905.
You got it.
Yeah.
Into a small rooming house where I shared with 4 other guys.
Hey, it's not your mom's house.
And it certainly looked like I shared that house with 4 other guys when I walked into that space.
Yeah.
But immediately, and I think this was my leadership, I stepped in, I saw an opportunity to take what was 4 separate rooms and create community. And create a framework that we all were responsible for the home, like right away.
So you came in and created organizational structure.
Yes.
And they listened to you, though.
They did, because they saw that it was about creating something for all of us.
Did you have to have a conversation with them and? Because you're how tall are you? Let's just let the audience know.
I'm 6'7".
You're 6'7".
Yeah.
Okay, so when you walk in a room, and you're not a tiny 6'7", you're a sizable 6'7". Do you think that that helped with that leadership or ability to say that? Because walking into a house with dudes, they could be like, "Screw you, dude," or like, "No, we like it this way." Yeah. So was it an easy sell? Did you have to create courage to have this conversation? Yeah. Like, how did that happen?
It started with seeing a need.
Okay, and so you saw a need.
Yeah, I started with seeing a need of keeping the place organized, keeping the place clean. Shout out to my parents. I grew up, with a father in the home, and I'm very blessed that, we didn't.
So two-parent household.
Two-parent household growing up. My parents had since divorced and what have you, but growing up, seeing my father contribute in the household. Right. And take on responsibility and really take pride in his appearance and his environment really influenced me and my brother, and I just saw there was a need. Okay. And I think that's what that's part of manhood, is identifying when you see a need. Well, then it requires a level of leadership to fulfill that, but it can't be done alone. It wasn't me just going to clean the house alone, because number 1, why should I? Number 2, there's a benefit to other people involved. Number 3 is, could it be something that actually empowers other people to take greater pride? And that's exactly what it did. And so how did I start it, you asked? First it started with connection. I had to start and connect with the guys in the room as a person, to get to know them, to get to know who they were, right? So when I say immediately walked in, I didn't give a Spartan kick. I was not Leonidas up in there kicking the door down and saying, here's how it's going to go down.
You also had to live in the environment for a bit. Yeah. And you had to observe the environment.
Yeah.
And so perhaps, I don't know the condition of the home, but maybe when you walked in immediately, it was not in the condition that maybe your mother kept her home.
It was livable.
Right?
It was livable.
And then as you lived there, then you started to realize, oh, you're seeing behavior, you're seeing these things, and they're like, yeah, we can do this. Yeah, we can do this better.
Yeah. Right? There was I've always had an ownership mentality.
Okay.
Right? So even as a renter, I was an owner in my mind, because it was my space. There's no difference between a space you rent and a space you own, because that's the environment that you go.
So you had common space and individual rooms.
Correct. Yeah. Right. So common kitchen.
Did you keep a clean room?
Well, you know, it was for the most part clean. I had my own routines, but listen, there's some days I rolled out of bed and stayed in that bed. Some days I didn't roll out of bed at all, right? But by and large, for sure, because there was always something that I got from doing that. You know, William H. McMurray, I believe, came out with he had a viral clip about making your bed.
Yeah,
right?
I know it.
I might
it's
not
the
be
one
McMurray.
thing, but I'm gonna mess it again. But it's the habit of getting something accomplished, and having completed something first thing in the morning.
100%.
I don't know that it's that gentleman, but I've been to many entrepreneurial summits, and many people reference the making the bed situation. It's like, it's routine.
It is, and you get to start your day with a win. And even if you did nothing that day, you get to come back. And I don't believe we don't do anything. I think we can all find 5 successes every single day. I have a framework for that I call, you know, daily gifts. But I believe it's subjective, and it's important for us to be able to identify a win, because we're the ones that get to define it. We get to create it. So why not have one that empowers you, but also one that allows you to take from your day, as opposed to feel like it's all or nothing.
Well, to that note, I mean, if I adopted that just now after hearing you, and my win is, I opened my eyes. Like, I'm breathing air. I got out of bed. For some people, getting out of bed is not even a possibility. And for some people, opening their eyes is not. And that's deep. So being able to see those wins is so important.
100%.
Love that.
Yeah, I really believe that. You know, so, you know, that came when I connected with the men, you know, got to know who they were, because, you know, I think it's essential to be able to, as a leader, to show that you care not only about the outcome of the collective, but about the individuals that make it up.
So what I'm curious about is, clearly you were a personality that came in, was there a lack of leadership? It took you to come in to create leadership.
Yeah.
Were you seeing 3 individuals just doing their own thing, and you brought in the leadership?
Yes.
So that was clear.
That was clear, yeah.
Okay.
And you know, in fairness to them, they were just renting a room, just like I was.
Yeah.
So their business was in their room, their prerogative was in their room, their entitlement was in their room. However, I saw that we shared a space, and I could look at it on a level of function, which is like, you know, take care of things, clean up after yourself, be mindful you're sharing that room. Or I can look at that and really elevate what I saw as an opportunity, like, you know, that we take care of this place, we create a space where we want to be, that we could actually share if we chose to, and that we're also leaving behind a sense of, you know what, you matter.
Right.
In here. You matter. That's why I don't just do this for me, I do this for you.
So do you feel like you fostered a community, and that more conversations and more curiosity was created because you came in and developed that environment?
What I noticed is that the interactions between those men actually increased after I came there.
Okay.
Like I would learn, like, oh, Peter never comes upstairs, right? Because there's someone that rented the basement, then there was someone that, you know, there's 3 of us upstairs, and they would just, it's like passing ships in the wind. I created a sense of community, I guess, that they felt more comfortable to interact, because, you know, we're doing something together. We're all throwing something in together, which could be just maintaining and upkeeping the place, but there's also a level of levity and connection that also existed. And I think that is something that is highly underrated, is levity. You know, bringing some lightness. I'm dealing with 4, like, you know, 3 other dudes, grown men, up in that spot. You know, if I'm coming to like, listen, here's how it's gonna go, doesn't matter how big I am or whatnot, just to impose on another man's will because you think you know what should be done, that's not a good way to start.
So,
you know?
I think what I'm hearing is you were also tactful.
Absolutely.
You were considerate of the approach. You observed the environment, so that in your mind, you're like, there's a need. How do I deliver it in a way that can enroll people? And I say that because we are both Landmark graduates. How would you best define Landmark for those who are listening who do not know what Landmark is about?
I would say Landmark is a framework of communication that allows us to be more intentional with how we're communicating, and more mindful of how and who we're communicating to in such a way that it brings people together, reduces the chances of misinterpretation and misunderstanding, reduces, nothing eliminates it, and just fosters a way that we can reciprocate, resonate, and connect on a better language through language, how we show up and how we interact.
You know, one of the things that really stuck out to me about the Landmark Forum in the distinctions, because you learn a lot of different distinctions is what they call them, is that there is what you know, what you don't know, what you know you don't know. Like for the example that they always gave is, I know how to speak English. I know I don't know how to speak Chinese. And then you know what you don't know, and then but you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And so the Landmark Forum also opens up the space of what you don't know that you don't know. And, and that is your abilities, your insecurities, the reasons why you do things, your motivations, your biggest fears. Like, it unlocked for me a lot. Oh, crap, that's why I do that?
Didn't know.
Or that's what I...
Or that's why I do that.
That's why I do that.
You know, because we're on autopilot, right? We're all kind of operating in a way on a daily basis.
Super enlightening. Yeah, very,
it's like the iceberg theory.
Super enlightening. Yeah, and they say I've done. In my household, I was raised with a military father who was raised by a military father, so there was a lot of yelling in my household. And to top it off, he was deaf in one ear, so he had a lake accident one time, and I guess some sea moss got into his ear, and it permanently damaged his hearing. So even my kids and people are like, "Why are you yelling?" And I'm like, "Because that's how I have to speak to my father."
Right.
Dad, like it was always at an octave higher.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's crazy.
But the perception outside was you're yelling, which typically has like a negative context.
It does have a negative context, and it can be uncomfortable. And it's because I just am operating from the space of what my environment was like.
That was functional. That was functional for you, you know. But
it was also required because I had to yell.
Yep.
Right, and and sometimes when I'm on the phone, I will yell, and my kid, and they're in the car. Why are you yelling? It's like, oh, it's so subconscious for me.
That's it.
Right?
We're on autopilot, you know. So
autopilot's the word, but you know, when you have the awareness that you are on autopilot, and it can be, it's very intentional. Like, it's not exhausting, but when you can live a life of mastery in your intention, in your emotion, in your day-to-day, knowing that this is a voluntary movement, or your default is to yell or go back to the behavior that you were accustomed to, but you can like prevent it before it even happens. I mean, that's great.
It's empowering.
Yeah, it's very empowering.
And it then brings us to choice. Now that we're aware of it,
chocolate vanilla.
What are we going to do? Chocolate vanilla.
Choose.
Right? Yeah. But also, it could be butter pecan. It could be rainbow. We could be open to choices that we didn't know that were available to us, because on autopilot, everything feels so binary sometimes.
Speaking about choices that we didn't know were available, let's move into the discussion. And thank you for the context. I think that was an important sort of opening to how your mind works and some of the ideas behind what an elevated male is and how you can come in. And I think an example of an elevated male is exactly what you did, to come in, to not force, push, even though you are somebody that can command that, both physically, you're aware of it, but you're not using that in an aggressive way. You're not using that to dominate or to intimidate, which sometimes men with size will use that with intimidation. Even they say, oh, you have short man syndrome or small something syndrome, right? So you have to, compensate for that.
Yes.
But it sounds to be some of the principles of an elevated male is to enroll and empower and to really understand where someone's coming from, instead of, they always say, respond, not react.
Absolutely.
Right?
I'm a student of something that has been very transformative in my life, in my relationships.
And
I
what's
say
that?
I'm a student because I haven't mastered it completely yet.
Okay.
But that is, as Stephen Covey said very long ago back in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, is to seek first, to understand, and then be understood.
Love that. I don't think that I can recount the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, but that is, to your point, pick up that book. That is one of your
Still a classic.
staples.
Yes.
It is the Bible for getting along with people and for being somebody that can blend in. Although you want to sometimes stand out, you don't want to stick out in a bad way.
Correct.
You know, and 7 Habits of Highly Effective People are one of them. And there's also one where it talks about how to win friends and influence people.
Dale Carnegie. That's one of those classics.
That one too. That's a classic.
Still in print.
We
right,
will
for
put
a
that
reason.
in the notes. Do you believe that an elevated man educates himself, is well read? Is that maybe not necessarily a requirement, but is that helpful? And should they have read this, or this? I mean, it's your protocol. So what are
Yeah.
your thoughts on that?
Education is key, right?
Okay.
And it was Gandhi that said, the goal of education is not knowledge, but action. So what we take in, it's great to consume, but the challenge is, especially in today's society of consumption, we're in a culture of consumption. And so I deeply believe that we need to, in some cases, learn less and study more, right? We've all come across information that had a big impact on us, and we maybe followed it, executed, saw some results, and then what happened? We stopped for
Right.
whatever reason. And so some things are worth going back to, and that's why I think it's important to go wide in terms of your taking in of knowledge and finding information that is going to empower you, that's going to educate you, bring insights to you. But that's a journey that starts within. It starts
Right.
with yourself. Your own path of self-discovery is the first point of reference, because you can't get there unless you start here. So
Yeah.
you have to know what resonates with me, what type of information do I feel is in alignment with me to become the man I want to be, to become the leader I want to be, the father, the partner, the husband I want to be. Find that, and find just something that resonates, and make it a practice. Don't just make it an act. Make it a practice to study things that have value, and then go revisit it, because that's life. You get a chance to try something, get feedback, and with that feedback, bring that back in to change your results.
Well, point one is action. Otherwise, the other analogy that I've had is if you are reading books and not taking action, it is actually called shelf help.
That's right.
It's helping the shelf, but it's not helping your life, right? It's
Right.
helping the shelf, not your life.
That's it. It looks
Yeah.
colorful.
It looks
right.
colorful.
I
You
got
look
a beautiful
like,
library.
yeah, exactly. This is my library. I don't do any of it.
That's right. Yeah.
So to that point, when it comes down to relationships, and I'll share this to my audience, most of the clients I'm working with these days are typically entrepreneurs, C-level, 6, 7, 8, 9, some 10-figure business owners that share with me what they're looking for in a partner. They also share some of their habits. And the women, I'll speak to women that are seeking men. So many of these women will say, I want someone with high emotional intelligence, so EQ. I want someone, we have someone in the audience here that is like, yes, female in the audience going, someone who is self-aware. And it's almost now a red flag if a man has not done therapy, is not interested in himself, doesn't know his Myers-Briggs score, or has taken at least a love language test or something. Because as you said, it first starts with your own curiosity.
Yes.
And your own interest in, why do I do what I do?
100%.
I want to keep doing the things that make me better, and I want to eliminate the things that don't make me better, right? Let's do more of the things that give me a great life and great partners and great friends. Let's do less of the things that don't bring me joy, that have me go into the dark hole or whatever it is. So to the men that are listening, to the women that are listening, that's a plus. So if you're not doing it now and you want to be more interesting, doing some self-help, getting curious about coaching, reading books, it's a topic of conversation. It's something you can talk about.
It's the biggest green flag that I would say as
Yes.
someone that, you know.
Green flag, there we go.
Yeah. You know, I'm very blessed to be with an incredible woman right now. And
So happy for you.
thank you. And, you know, one of the things that she would talk about was green flags, you know, and where...
There's not enough discussions on green flags, to be honest. Everybody's looking for the red flag, right?
And they'll find them.
Yeah.
I promise you. You will find whatever you put your energy goes. Wherever energy goes, wherever attention flows, energy goes.
That's right.
And that result is going to come out. And the green flags were about, you know, just knowing myself. Because ultimately, I think a woman wants to find safety. She wants to feel safe in the company of a man. But for a man to be able to provide that, he has to be solid. And to be solid is to know yourself, because that's going to create the congruence in saying what you mean, meaning what you say, doing what you say. That allows her to trust you. And it starts with yourself first, knowing who you are, because when you are clear on who you are, then what you say is going to resonate, because there's a truth that
Well,
follows.
yeah, and I think speaking about choice, and we'll move into the regulation. What did you call that?
Regulation and co-regulation.
Regulation and co-regulation.
Yeah.
Like,
Self-regulation, co-regulation. Yeah.
Speaking about choice,
Yes.
a lot of people choose the person without the information because they don't even know the information. Like, if I know wholeheartedly, hey, with me, you're getting this, here's the good stuff, here's the bad stuff. Like, here's the things I'm working on, right? Here's my flaws, here's my past, here's my present, here's my future. And that way somebody can choose that. Let's say that you are in a non-traditional relationship and you know, you live a poly lifestyle, or you eat vegan, or you you know, do those extreme sports and you want to jump out of a plane. Like, I couldn't date somebody that wanted to jump out of a plane 24/7. Like, but if they didn't tell you that, or they don't know, how can you choose? So I think there's a lot of power in knowing who you are, so that the person you're with can choose with all the information.
100%.
With the right information. And a lot of people hide the information.
Yeah.
And that's the other thing is, oh shit, I have OCD. I have anger problems. I'm messy as fuck. Like, I mean, like, whatever it is, right?
We're all works in progress. You know? We're all works in progress, and there's all flaws. And I think,
but maybe there's a guy that wants to clean up after me. I mean, I don't know.
Well, there's a guy that's gonna say, you know what, I'll let her have that, because here's what I'm getting. You know, and there becomes in a relationship, I think, a list of things that don't love it, but it's worth it.
Right.
It's a net positive. We're with people, we're looking for a person that's a net positive. We're not looking for perfection in our life, right? We're looking for who's my kind of imperfect, that I can be my imperfect self with. Because the permission to be imperfect, to be vulnerable, which to me as a man is strength, that opens up in a woman, especially with what women have to deal with today. The pressures of society, the pressures and expectations that are out there of how you gotta be, how you gotta show up, how you gotta look, how you gotta behave, what you gotta be into, what you gotta achieve. It allows them to let all of that bullshit go and see, like, you know what, he sees the essence of who I am. So all these other things, I'm gonna tell you this, what you think is the thing that filters someone out is the thing that filters the right man in.
Can you give me an example of that?
Flaws, right?
Okay.
You know,
Right,
that there's a
right.
certain flaws, like, you know, the vulnerability of sharing that, saying like, hey, this is a quirk, an idiosyncrasy I have. You know, the right man that sees your essence, number one, is gonna feel like that's not a big deal, because the thing that you fear the most of someone rejecting you for, you want them to reject you for it. You want them to reject you for it, because that will never be accepted by that individual. So be bravely yourself in such a way that that person is going to disqualify you. That's going to save you some time, because you get to live as who you really are, because the right man for that thing that's going to be a drop in the bucket of what they're getting in return for everything that this incredible woman is.
Yes, and there are a lot of women, like I've coached and spoken to literally, Winston, over 65,000 people. It's probably 70,000 now, like even more. And that's in a span of 32 years in my matchmaking business. And the first 18 years I worked at a call center. Mm-hmm. So it was sweatshop. We didn't have internet or social media. It was on the phone, Glenn Gary, Glenn Ross, booking appointments. So I heard everything about what men want and don't want and what they're afraid of. And to your point, I agree with you. Sometimes the thing that women are most concerned about could be, oh my God, I have kids. And
yes.
There's like, oh my God, I have stretch marks. Mm-hmm. Shit, my body, my ass is dragging, I got gray hair, like I have freckles, wrinkles, whatever. And it's so true, even in my past partnerships, the things that I stressed about the most are the things that they coveted the most.
Yeah. That's it.
And it was just so mind blowing.
It humanizes you, and it's great we all want to look our best and feel our best and go out to the world. Absolutely. I believe that, to bring that light into the world is a beautiful thing when you're doing it for your own reasons. Mm-hmm. But also, I think that there's a craving today, Carm. I believe there's a craving today for more authenticity. We're at a time where there's so much surface level things that you can have two things that are true. You can have someone that looks incredible, is in great shape, does all the things, and, is flawed in other areas. Two things can be true, but not showing the vulnerability, I think, becomes a repellent to the right man. Because the man that would reject someone for imperfection is not the man you want to be with. Mm-hmm. For the relationship, or for a love relationship. Right. You might be in something where you enjoy a lifestyle together. That's great, but if you're looking
situationship.
For a situationship, it is what
agreements,
it is. You got your understanding of what it is. When you're free, how we're going to frame it. Yeah. As long as it's an agreement, you're good.
Yeah.
So
but that's the whole thing about choice. Hey, here's this is what you get. You get it.
Yeah.
Take it or leave it.
Yeah.
Fit in, don't fit in, right? But when you can hold that space, that power to be able to say that.
Here I am.
Exactly.
This is a package deal.
And don't we all just want unconditional love at the end of the day?
Yeah. And maybe your dog might be the only thing that gives it to you, but I mean, you can find someone that still can embrace your
really
imperfections,
close.
Right?
Yeah, really, really close.
We don't deserve dogs. Dogs are too awesome,
In your experience, you have a brother. Do you have an older brother or a sister?
Older sister.
Okay, older sister.
Yeah.
You have a younger brother. Would you say you have a lot of men or experience with men, knowing men who've shared their fears with you, even through the work at Landmark? Mm-hmm. Would you say you have had a lot of conversations with men?
Oh yeah,
okay,
absolutely, right.
What would you say is an insecurity that men have as it pertains to dating? Entering the dating space that maybe they're not addressing, they're making mistakes of. I'd like to maybe highlight that, and maybe you can share your own example of what did you do in the past that didn't work to where you're at now.
Yes.
Where you have attracted someone that you feel great about. Mm-hmm. And it's mutual, right?
100%, right? Like I think in any relationship, it's about reciprocal choice. Mm-hmm. Like that I'm choosing my partner every day, and also that my partner's choosing me every day, right? Mm-hmm. There's no hierarchy in relationship, unless it's a different kind of relationship. Yeah. That's a whole different
BDSM.
topic. It's a different topic.
50 Shades of Grey.
Right? Go on, live your life.
Yeah, exactly.
But
we're talking about the healthy partner dynamic.
Yes.
Whether it not about gender, it's just healthy relationship.
Yeah. And so I think for a lot of men, it's not feeling enough.
Okay.
It's not feeling enough, and you can insert here, tall enough, wealthy enough. Healthy enough. Like, health is a certain baseline.
Sure,
there, but
like maybe they have
enough.
dad bod and they're insecure about it, right? Or they're comparing themselves to the men Instagram models in the world, Yeah.
Right, and it's, guys go through it too.
Mm-hmm.
Guys go through it too, what idealism is. And I'll tell you one thing I don't buy, right?
Okay.
At the scale that it's almost being represented as, is this idea of, with the red pill, blue pill, right? Like I think there's, like anything else, even politics, there's merits right, on both sides. And you got to find, what's true for you. No one is subscribing to a whole thing where all line items that are tenets of that view or that community are going to apply to everybody.
Right.
So you got to orient with what's more true for me and what's less true for me, or what's not true at all. And so I bring that up to say, like, the idea of, like all of the check marks that, social media would have you believe that a man has to be and look, or just because you have some influencers that are showing women complain about those things. The map is not the territory. The map is the person with the hot mic that's saying, oh, he showed up in this car, so I didn't get in with him.
Okay.
Or it's like, I need a man that makes $150,000, or I can't talk to him. The map is not the territory. The map is just content. Is there there's a certain percentage of women? Yes, absolutely. There's thresholds that you got to have a minimum to play ball.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if a woman is looking for a certain kind of lifestyle, then there's thresholds. He doesn't have to make $1 million, but he maybe can't make $32,000.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Sure.
So it's okay to have those things, those desires, and ultimately those desires on the front are only for a certain outcome and an experience that you're looking to have. And so it also beckons the curiosity to lean in and see about that person. But, I don't subscribe to the absolutes, because nobody is absolute. But men do have pressure out there, perceived pressure of being a certain man, looking a certain way, driving a certain car, having a certain income. And I want to say that what's more important than the absolutes are the thresholds, and I want to encourage women to consider thresholds as well, because a man may not be making $250,000 a year, but he might be able to provide enough in the sense that you can have the lifestyle that you're looking for.
Right.
All right. It doesn't require $1 million to travel a number of times a year. You know what I'm saying? So I say all that to really encourage men that they can they can own who they are right now, but also show who you're aspiring to be. The version of yourself that you're aspiring to be. I might not be at the level of fitness that I want, but fitness is very important to me, so I'm working out. Right? I might be looking to grow my business. It's not at the level that I want, but this is what I'm focused on. This is what I'm passionate about. I might not be a perfect, in this regard, but this is how I'm looking as a man, as a father, as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a coach, this is how I'm looking to grow. But don't just say it. You gotta show it.
What's interesting is I cannot tell you how many times women have shared with me that online dating sucks. Now, I'm not saying that. I'm saying what they shared with me. Sure. Online dating sucks.
Their experience.
Guys don't know what they want. They don't know what they want. They're just F-boys, or, they get, they ghost. They don't communicate. It's a failure to communicate for the most part, but there's a lot of women out there that are frustrated with, what the fuck is going on? Because they don't have men that can express or know how to. What can you comment about that, and what maybe advice would you give to either the women or the guys that are out there on these sites?
We just talked about red flags and green flags.
Okay.
And we're going to get what we focus on.
Okay.
And so if when I was dating, came across a profile, she can look incredible, sound incredible, but once I see that she's focused on what she doesn't want, gone. I'm out of there. Because I can see her energy is about avoidance and negativity, and it might not have worked out for you, and maybe that's a great story over a glass of wine about, not too long, not too much, we've all had experiences. Yeah. But if I see your energy is about what you don't want, to me, quietly, it's telling me that this has been a constant experience. And then it makes me think, why are you having these experiences so often? Even if that's not true about her versus another woman in a profile that doesn't say it, but I'm showing you this is the mentality of a man that's looking at a certain quality of woman, and if I see her energy is about what she doesn't want, she lost me out the gate.
Okay, fair enough. Here's a example or catch-22. You're asking a woman, how's her dating experience been like?
Sure.
And now she throws up on you and says, it's been this, and this, and how do you receive that then?
Yes.
Because there are women who've had shitty experiences. You're asking the question, do you think that they should be reserved or mindful of how they say that? Or are you looking for the judgment or blame or lack of accountability per se, right?
Yeah, that's a great opportunity to clarify. So what I'm referring to is like a profile.
Okay.
Right? So seeing like a dating profile.
That's
and where
mistake number one.
You know what I'm saying?
No
It's
cheaters,
right
no
front.
liars, no this, no that.
Don't go
no
have the courtesy to call me. It's like, wow, you're a person that has these experiences, and probably not once. If it's bad enough, that's why you're talking about it. So thank you for the opportunity to clarify.
It reads bitter.
It reads bitter.
It reads bitter.
And it means that we start at -1 instead of 0.
Right. It's almost like for a man reading that, it's like, man, I'm paying for all these other guys' mistakes.
Right?
Like, shit, that bar is so high. And she can't even acknowledge when a good man comes because she's so focused on the shitty men that were in her life.
Then she's probably going to have the same profile, 3 months, 6 months from now.
Happens to women too.
100%.
Happens to women too.
And like, I don't know enough about guys' profiles in terms of seeing them.
Oh, they need your help.
I know about men. I'm here for that. Guys, I'm here for that.
Yeah,
I'm absolutely here for that.
We got to create the elevated man for many men out there. Nothing wrong with you, but nothing wrong with a little help, a little elevation.
How you communicate. How you communicate is everything.
Yes.
And so when it comes to, I do want to know about her dating experiences, right? So I do, like, what's it been like for you? Because that's going to help me get a sense of, what has she kind of been through? What's it been like? Like, what's her mentality at? And in spite of that, how is she still showing up? Obviously, we're on a date because she's still hopeful, right? So, I want to learn.
She wants a free meal.
Well,
there's a terminology for that. The free meal.
Yeah,
you got to be mindful of where to go. If she's going, Jacob's Steakhouse,
Been there, done that. Learn.
Let's go
lived
to
and learned.
one hotel. You know,
lived and learned. Right.
Cocktails and this and then she's got a whole agenda plan.
And there's certain women that are looking for that, and certain men that are willing to do it.
True.
Let them get together.
There's the exchange.
But that's not our market. That's not who we're looking to reach. We're not going to judge those people. Like, that's not going to be for me. Like, I'm not even going to make it that far. But it's out there. It is
Taco Bell, man. Taco Bell.
Taco Bell, man. That
She's
Gordita
down.
Crunch.
She's down.
That Gordita
shit.
Crunch was bad.
Oh my god.
Yeah. So, but I'm here for it. I'm here for her experiences. I think that's one of the ways that men can show courage is by showing that, listen, your past doesn't affect me. Right, I'm concerned.
What about her body count? Does that affect you?
It doesn't.
Okay.
It doesn't. What affects me more so.
It does affect certain men, though.
It does, and I understand that. And I think there's a lot of body count is just one thing, right?
Sure.
It's in and of itself is not a red flag to me.
Okay.
Right, her associations, her lifestyle. How she spends her time.
Are those guys cushioning? Are they hovering around?
Right, you know what I mean? These are all the things where when you add them up, now that becomes something, because then that suggests to me not what your past is, but what might perpetuate in your present as well. You know what I'm saying? So, look, we all had to learn through relationships. I've learned through relationships. I've learned through mistakes I've made. I've learned through experiences I had. I've learned what not to do. I've learned what to do. And I learned, most importantly, my values of what I value in a relationship and a partner as well because of that. And so I believe that every relationship that ends is a graduation to the next one.
So great.
If you've taken away something that you won't do again or that you won't ever settle for.
I do have to say, having been on your Instagram and just from some conversations that we've had, mutual acquaintance that we both know, that I really admire the way that you've entered your partnerships and left your partnerships. If there were a blueprint for breakup with integrity and having someone leave feeling okay. Breakups are difficult. They are sometimes tragic, unexpected, painful, mean, and it leaves the other person feeling just, lower than what they came in. And it just, I just, where does that come from? What can you share with other, I wouldn't say couples, people that are in breakup or going through breakup? What's that secret sauce that has using your example of where you've left I'm not saying you've left women, but literally you've left a relationship where there's peace. You know, there isn't this animosity. You acknowledge, like, it's kind of like Marie Kondo, who, thank you for the joy you brought. She's the clutter lady. I thank you for the joy. Now you get to give someone else joy.
Yeah.
Right? But she honors the clothing, the item for what it brought, and then lets it go for someone else to enjoy. You are the Marie Kondo of breakups for dudes. Oh my God, there it is.
I'm Mark Kondo, I guess.
You're Mark Kondo, I don't know.
I think it starts with the belief that if you want to honor yourself, then you have to honor your partner. Otherwise, you dishonor that you made a choice to be with this person and the merits of which you made that decision. It didn't work out. Sometimes things don't work out. I'm a divorcee. I have a healthy, and I'd like to say inspired, co-parenting relationship with my ex, where I support her happiness. And it matters because we have kids together.
Two beautiful children.
Yeah. That just all they know is that some people have two houses, some families have two houses, some families have one house, and some family has two.
I have to say I'm in that space right now, and it was not an easy space to get to, where my daughter has two places that she has love and support and fun. So it's like she gets a lot of fun. So that's amazing. That is absolutely incredible.
So it's going back to that. It's going back to honoring the person, honoring the choice to be together. And to be together, remember that? We choose each other, right? That reciprocal choice. That we chose each other until we no longer consciously did. And then things kind of went apart. And it didn't work out. But it's also not at the sacrifice of the belief that this is still a good person. You never were in a relationship with a bad person.
Right.
And certain things might have gone and shifted and changed.
Yes, and just for context, some people end up with bad people, right? And in your cases, you happen to have made good choices.
Yes.
That you can say that because look at the Tinder swindler, right? So some people who are listening are like, dude, he's not a good person. She's not a good person. I came home, my house was empty.
That's fair.
My bank account was
bad people are out there. Bad people are out there.
So
bad people are out there.
Yeah, but I do appreciate that point of view.
Right, and people and people that make bad choices over and over and over again.
Need to self-reflect.
Self-reflect and get into therapy. Men, you want to be hot, get into therapy.
Yes. Okay. Oh, you're in therapy? Oh, green flag. Green flag.
100%. So
check, please.
Right? So that's what my lady said to me is like, so that work, right? So
it's important.
It's appreciating the person. It didn't work out. Just allow it to be that, right? Because when resent I find comes is when you stay too long in a situation you both knew was not working out.
Oh, it's hurt. It's kind of painful right now.
Right? Because then the pattern shows up.
Truth?
The pattern, right? And be kind to
goodness.
yourself.
Yeah.
Because there was hope it would be different, but the data didn't support it anymore, right?
Yeah.
The experiences didn't support it anymore. So bless that. Say, I'm sorry it didn't work out, but also I bless you. I hope good things for you. Sometimes, it can be. Listen, even after...
Time heals all things eventually, right?
It does. It allows them to dissipate in enough. But there's a difference between getting over something and getting through it. To get through it, you got to do the work.
Well, this was an incredible conversation, and thank you. Is this your first podcast, by the way?
I've had a few early ones.
Oh, you've had? Is this the first on relationships?
Yeah.
Oh.
On that, yeah. But,
I like to pride myself on being first for people. Yes, it was. I'm just kidding. First in the studio. How about that?
Elev8ted Male.
Elev8ted Male. There we go.
Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, I wanted to have this conversation.
I hope I was able to infer some of the tenets of what choosing to be an elevated male, really is about, but yeah.
And for those who want to follow Winston's journey and see what he's going to create, in the space of the elevated male or whatever else you're going to add value, because we can clearly see he adds value, where can they learn about you? Whether it's LinkedIn or Instagram, do you want to? I can post the links below.
Yeah, if you do that. I have some things in the works
Okay.
as well, so let's share them there so everyone can follow along.
Perfect. And yeah, follow my podcast, like, subscribe, follow our journey, his journey, and thank you for listening.
And they can find me on LinkedIn
Yes.
for that way as well. Just my name, Winston Robinson.
Perfect. The 6'7" guy right here.
Can't see all of it.
Hard to miss. Anyway, thanks guys, and we'll be back next week.